Welcome to Career Biz, the podcast of the University Career Center at UNC Charlotte. I'm Jay, and our special guest this week is Ms. Brooke Elliott, the Director of Education and Enablement for the sourcing operations of Premier Incorporated. Brooke, thank you for joining us on Career Biz.
Thanks for having me, Jay. Appreciate it.
So I want to start with that. I think you have one of the most unique titles I've seen of anyone that I work with and interface with on the employer side of the Career Center. So tell us a little bit about what you do at Premier and kind of how you arrived at this position.
Yes, I agree that I have a very unique position at Premier as Director of Education and Enablement. It is actually a new position that was created about a year ago, and I have the opportunity to continue to recruit individuals into the supply chain services organization of Premier alongside of our HR department. And in addition to that, train them in their roles as new specialists for the service lines that they will support in supply chain services and in our GPO, in addition to helping them mentor them and develop in their careers to get to that success and to find their interests and what they're really looking for in their careers. And I've been given that unique opportunity through coaching and mentorship of individuals in the department.
Brooke, you mentioned two words there that I really want to talk about, and that's coaching and mentorship, because those are obviously key elements of anyone's success and their career. And I want you to kind of take us back to when you started your career. What were some of the scarier things about looking for a mentor that you went through, and how did you get yourself through that? And then talk about some of the mentor relationships you've had, because a lot of our students tell us like, hey, I've got all these job search tools, but what do I do once I'm there? And how do I, ingrain myself as a part of a community and part of the work community that I'm going to be a part of?
Absolutely. So I think every organization is going to be different when it comes to mentorships. Some organizations have formal mentorships while others don't. When I started with Premier, we actually did have a formal mentorship program, and we were paired up with an individual based on a survey that we had filled out. And I will say that you have to be willing to be outside of your comfort zone in that situation and really get to know somebody that you have never met before, and be willing to go to lunch and to be out a little bit out of your element. But it is definitely something that folks should take advantage of. Since then, we actually do not have the formal mentorship any longer, but we do have several folks in the organization that definitely take an interest in meeting with people. And we have a system in place when somebody is hired into our portion of the organization, where we actually set them up with several people throughout the organization to meet with and to build a network with. So they can develop those relationships, and if they have interest in learning more about the positions in those other areas, they can do so. So I did go through that formal mentorship myself, and I learned a lot along the way, and that really helped me determine what would be successful for individuals that come into the organization. So we've had the opportunity to build our own and learn from the folks that are going through it, how we can tweak it and make it better.
Brooke, we all know it's important to ingrain yourself as part of an organization, and we talk a lot about mentoring, but sometimes students don't understand the real value in it. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that and what the real return on investment is for them.
Sure. And I get that question quite often. What is the value in a coach or a mentor in an organization? And at the end of the day, I think being open to perspectives and open to feedback is just highly valuable. And being able to be coachable is a good thing to learn early on in your career. And to continue to do that throughout your career, and to gain those relationships with folks that you can trust and you feel comfortable with, so that you can continually gain those perspectives. To me, I think that is something that is highly admirable for folks to go through, and it does differentiate people from those who are kind of shying away from that process.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talk about when we talk about lifelong learning, right? It's not just learning subject material, but it's learning about others and learning how to relate with others and learning not necessarily to change your mindset, but to appreciate and understand where someone else is coming from.
Absolutely. I think part of that too is attitude. Attitude is everything. So approaching these opportunities with a positive attitude and being willing to do something that you've never done before, it does also show that your willingness to succeed and to work with others, and also just to work with anybody really at the end of the day, and to be able to again build those relationships with folks that you don't work with on a daily basis, because perspectives are so different from folks that aren't doing the same role and have the same role as you. So having that perspective is truly very valuable.
I want to ask you this as a recruiter real quick too, because I found this when I was starting out in my careers to be one of the toughest questions to really answer and feel like I was being honest about it. And it's, where do you see yourself in X number of years? And what if you could kind of give some coaching tips on how to really answer around that and be genuine about yourself?
Well, I do think it's not every day that have a conversation with an individual that knows exactly where they want to be in 5 to 10 years. I didn't really even know till probably 4 or 5 years ago exactly what I wanted to do, and I'm over 20 years into my career. So I would say that it's okay to say, I don't know, I'm not sure. However, it is always good to, connect back to what you're passionate about, what your strengths are, and how you feel like you can contribute to an organization, and it's specifically the organization you may be interviewing with. And obviously, if you're connecting to an organization's mission and values, there's a reason for that, and you'll want to talk through that. And I think that's okay. I think that's actually even better to be able to say how you connect to those things, versus, well, I know that I want to be XYZ in 10 years. I think careers evolve over time based on experience, exposure, and what you learn. And I think we should all be flexible in that and understand that that's how our career may end up.
You mentioned the idea of continuing to network even after you're at an organization, and we both know that's so important. But why is it important to continue to build your network as a new professional? Because we spend so much time on it as job seekers that sometimes the first thing you want to do is like, oh, okay, I don't have to do that anymore. But you emphasize it. Why is it so important still?
Well, I think folks need to remember that the day you set foot, into a new role, into an organization, you're building your brand. And the more advocates that you can gain in your organization, the better. Because, as you grow and develop in your role and you really differentiate yourself and find ways to differentiate yourself, maybe through those mentorships and those suggestions those mentors might have for you, if a role comes up, they're going to be the advocates that go knocking down somebody's door saying, listen, I really can vouch for this person's work, their values and ethics, and they align with the organization, and we really truly believe they should be in a role like this. So I do think that it is important to, continually put yourself out of your comfort zone and network with folks, and learn from others, so that when those opportunities do present themselves, you have a group of people that are supporting you.
So putting on the part of your hat where you do recruiting and you're talking with potential candidates and things, and along the same lines of what you just said, we encourage students and alums to always really focus on the mission and the visions of the organizations that they're applying for, and to tie themselves into those through their experiences and their interests when they're talking to potential employers. What are some of the more effective ways you've seen candidates do that? And what are some ways that you've coached people into doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's always a little bit of an advantage if somebody truly has a passion and they're able to connect it to a particular organization potentially. I know that not everybody has that opportunity, but I've actually seen a lot of folks that have, for instance, had some experience or exposure to healthcare. So they find, for example, Premier to be a very good organization fit for them. So I would say that, it first starts with your resume and building your brand through your resume. If you know what the mission and vision is of the organization, you have great opportunity with your resume to tie that in to what you're looking for in an organization, as well as the keywords that you use throughout that resume. And when you connect with certain people in that organization, whether that be through applying for a position or even through LinkedIn or other social media platforms, you can talk about what your passions are, how they connect to that organization's mission and vision. And I do think that is important because it shows that you've done your research and your homework, and you have mission yourself on what you'd like to achieve in your career. Not everybody has, again, like the opportunity to do that, and that's totally fine. And you might not find that for a couple of years into your career. But it's always good to try to find the organizations that you connect with and do that through the people that you find over the social media platforms or the people that you know.
As our students are navigating the job search world and what it appears is going to be very much a virtual experience for some time going forward, what are some good tips on making sure that they're exuding their brand on their LinkedIn page and when they're connecting with recruiters, if they send a LinkedIn invitation and they send that short 250-word message? What are some of the better things you've seen people do that work?
Well, I think it first starts with the look of your brand. So you want to make sure that your picture is one that represents you well and that you feel good about, because that's the first thing that people are going to see. And then they're going to open up your page and they're going to look at the content that you've put in there. And so I would say you want to be very picky about the things that you take from your resume and put into LinkedIn. And maybe it looks really exactly like your resume potentially. And then when you want to connect with an individual, you want to give some context around the connection that you'd like to make and why you're reaching out and why it's important to you. And always think through kind of, what does your brand look like and are you happy with that? And it doesn't even have to be just LinkedIn. It could be through Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be anything that an organization might look at potentially when they're researching the candidates that are applying for positions. And I would say that make sure over communication is always okay. It shows somebody's very passionate about a position potentially. And always follow through with a thank you if somebody's taken the time to spend some time with you. I think that's very important.
Absolutely. That's great stuff. Brooke, tell us a little bit about Premier as an organization and the kind of folks that you all look for for your programs and your opportunities.
Sure. So Premier is a healthcare transformation organization. And that sounds like a lot of different things, and it really is. We're a very complex organization. We have over 4,000 acute hospitals across the nation and over 175,000 non-acute facilities that we have partnered with. So what does that really mean? Our mission is to improve the health of communities, and what we're doing is we are, through our GPO, which is in the organization that I'm in, we're actually partnering with suppliers to negotiate contracts and get potentially the best pricing for our members, so they don't have to spend the time doing it themselves. In addition to that, we have data on over 45% of U.S. hospital discharges. So as you can imagine, there are a lot of things that we can do with that data to help our hospitals improve. So we're gathering data, we are negotiating contracts, and there's a field of people that are actually at the hospitals working very closely with them to ensure that we're doing everything we possibly can to help them improve and be the best hospitals they can potentially be. Jay, I forgot your next question. Oh,
no, it's really just tell us a little bit about Premier and then the kinds of people that you tend to hire for.
Yes, yeah. So when we look for candidate for, say, an associate specialist or specialist in supply chain services, we actually have identified a list of foundational skill sets that a person may have to be successful in the role. So when we look at resumes, we're looking for keywords or things that they have done and have experience in that would easily transfer to the role. In addition to that, of course, we're looking for somebody that is going to be culturally a great fit for the team that they're going to potentially be on. In addition to the organization, we have an amazing culture at Premier, and we're looking for eager, motivated folks, who want to look for efficiencies in our processes, who aren't afraid to ask questions and be out of their comfort zone a lot. So in those interviews, we're really trying to figure out which individuals will be the best fit for these particular roles. And we have been very grateful to have great success with UNCC and other local universities, and very excited to have the great partnership that we do and find great candidates.
And one last thing offline here. Are you good if I ask you to tell people how they can connect with you, if that's something you're comfortable with?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, Brooke, thank you for joining us on the Career Bits and all this great information. How can folks connect with you if they want to?
I'd be happy to connect with anybody that's interested in learning more about the company and potentially what I do, in addition to what the various roles are in the organization. They can reach anybody that's interested can reach out to me either through LinkedIn at Brooke Elliott. Again, the company is Premier, or my email address is Brooke with an E, BROOKE _ Elliott, ELLIOTT at premierinc.com. Again, I'd be happy to connect with any individual that wants to learn more.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Brooke, for taking time and appearing on Career Bits with us this week.
Thank you so much, Jay, for having me. It's been great.
Well, welcome into the show again, Patrick and Jessie from the University Career Center. What's going on, gang?
Hello.
How's it going?
Doing well. We're just plugging right on through here. Another week on Career Bits. Patrick, I know you had some cool stuff in the nonprofit community you wanted to highlight this week.
Yeah, I just wanted to do a reminder to students, make sure that you're choosing career communities that interest you, and you can do as many as you'd like. If you're not sure what you want to be when you grow up, just choose the exploring one. We use that to push out new internships, gig internships, and of course, full-time jobs as employers are doing in there. And over the past week, we have thrown out about 13 or 14 new internships across the state, remote and hybrid sorts for the summer. So they're happening now. So check your email. If you want more information, you can always just email me directly. You can find my email address on our career website.
Very cool. Great stuff. Lots of good opportunities out there. And I'll echo what Patrick said. Make sure you choose communities that you're interested in and choose as many as you like. So our guest this week, Brooke Elliott, talked a lot about her work at Premier and a good bit about mentoring and mentorship. And so I wanted to ask you two to just tell a little bit about mentoring experiences you had when you were starting your career.
Yeah, I'll jump into that, Jay. When I was first starting my career, I think I didn't formally look for a mentor in the concept of, will you be my mentor? Yes, Jessie, I will be. It was more of a natural just kind of progression as I got to know different supervisors and people in the fields that I was looking for or looking into. And so a lot of it just was a matter of me asking them about what their career paths looked like. And depending on where I was, if it was a project I was working on, or if I wasn't sure how to navigate a certain situation in my first job, just asking for their advice.
I'll echo that. I think maybe I'm just the old guy around here, but I don't remember a lot of formal mentor programs where you can apply to be in there. And I think that for me, it was about doing job shadowing, although I didn't know the term job shadowing back then. I just knew that I wanted to go see what people do and ask some questions. And from there, I started figuring out the kinds of people that I wanted to have in my circle, if you will. So people that I would ask questions to if I'm running up against sorts of issues or just need advice on, simple things. And so I never had that one mentor that saved my life. It was more of a lot of different people that were there at certain times of my life to keep me moving forward.
I'm not unlike the both of you, that I've had different people throughout my career that have been good mentors to me. But I tell the story about Patricia Simpson. Her name was Blum back then, but she's at the University of Illinois now. She was my first supervisor in career services and really got me into this. When I started working in the career center at UNA, I was fresh into grad school. We didn't really have a career center when I went to school there as an undergrad. So this was a foreign concept to me. And Patricia, in her infinite wisdom, or perhaps just desperation because it was just me and her and the admin in the office, threw me in the deep end of it. And I loved it. And I didn't know what career counseling was. I didn't know you could do all this stuff with it. And I ended up, building a career out of it. And I've always talked to her, and I've stayed in touch with her for years, because not only was that my start in the field, but my first, quote, real job out of grad school, I got because of a networking connection that I made through her and so on. And she and I presented together at conferences through the years. So I always think back and I talk about her, and I like to call her out specifically because she was a real pivotal person in my life. But at the time I had no idea. Right. And I think only in hindsight do you realize that stuff. And so to flip that on the other side now, I wanted to ask you both about opportunities you've had to mentor other people throughout your careers. And Jessie, let's start with you.
Sure. And I think we've all kind of touched on the fact that a lot of times these mentorship relationships are very kind of natural. But I will also say that in some professional organizations, like I'm involved with NCACE, which is the statewide organization for career services, they have a more structured, organized mentor platform. So it's an opportunity to connect with other career services professionals across other colleges and universities. And I think that's a really cool opportunity. And I did actually partake in that as a mentee a couple of years back. And it was neat just to connect with somebody else who works for a different institution, who's had a myriad of other experiences that I may or may not have experienced with myself, and just to have a conversation. So I'm looking forward to attempting to serve as a mentor this coming year through that same space. And I would encourage you all, as you are, kind of navigating through what maybe some professional organizations make sense for you and your industry, see what kind of mentorship opportunities come about in a more formal, structured manner. I think with those, a lot of it, though, takes place in regards to the mentee's responsibility is to connect with the mentor. And from there, you kind of naturally have those conversations. But sometimes it is nice to have more of a structured topic of conversation, especially if it's somebody you've not met before. But I think the other key piece to keep in mind is that, yes, you as a mentee might be looking for advice or for just more experience or ideas from your mentor, but they're also learning from you as well. It's all about sharing ideas and perspective.
And I think you pointed out perfectly when you said there's structured mentoring programs out there. And that's good, because if you're not sure how to be a mentor, or you haven't experienced that before, but you really want to be able to help other people, those are great gateways into understanding the nuances of that relationship building. I think the other side for me anyway is I just ground myself in trying to be a nice person for everybody that I can, which means I'm always constantly looking out for ways that I can, send cool new ideas to them, or as people just have quick questions or just, want to seek my angle on different things. I always try to be there whenever they need me. And I also try to find a way to never say no for everything that I do. And so that just kind of comes down to the core of let's see what happens. And I found that the more I can help people, the more they can prosper. And it's just a really cool feeling. So how about you, Jay?
I've never participated in a formal mentoring program. The associations I've been in didn't really have them. I think a lot of it just happened organically as I met people through the Southern Association of Colleges and Employers, or NACE, the National Association, or the different state associations I've been in. But not unlike the both of you, I believe very much in the idea of paying it forward and also kind of paying back the things that I know people have done for me, even though they didn't realize they did it. And so I've just tried to be a good resource. I think that's sort of my whole career counseling mantra anyway, was to just be the resource that I needed when I was at whatever stage it was. And so still try to do that to this day. And I enjoy having the opportunity to talk with, other professionals. Right now I'm involved, since we're all doing the work from home thing, I'm involved with another group of North Carolina university officials who are all employer relations folks. And every 2 weeks we have a Zoom call and we just get on there and chat about what's going on and stuff like that. And it's not necessarily formal mentoring or anything, but there are a lot of young and new professionals in there. And then a lot of, us, I'll call seasoned folks is what I'll say, who've been in there for a little while. And we get to share a lot of cool ideas. And I think that's the important thing. And Jessie, you hit on it about mentoring relationships. It's much like networking. It's all about a two-way relationship, and it's giving and receiving as part of it, and trying to be a resource for people, because a lot of times your mentors may be, older and wiser and all of that kind of stuff, but they're looking to you for new answers too. So for our new grads and our young alums who are, striking out in their professions, I would say don't underestimate your value and what you bring to the table as part of that, and having those conversations, because it's just as salient as anything you may be receiving as well. So Patrick, it's time for final words from you.
Yay, my favorite time of the episode. So one of the shows that I love to watch these days called New Amsterdam, and I might have mentioned it in one of these podcasts before, and one of the main characters always says, "How can I help?" And I take that to heart. And I love the aspect of when we talk about mentorship and being out there and collecting good information, giving good information, it's about how can we help? And so being a mentor, being somebody who cares, means being proactive and talking to your friends and family and those who are around you and offering your help, and even simply just providing a little bit of advice or a shoulder to cry on or whatever it is. The more you help others, the more of the unknown that could happen coming back at you. And so it's a lot of that positive aspect that we have out there, and it creates the unknown of positive return on investment, if you will. So how can I help? Let us know. Career Center is here to continue to help you during this situation, and many more to come.
Thank you all for joining us on this latest edition of the Career Bits podcast. We will be back next week with another episode. Stay connected with the Career Center on social media at Niner Careers and on our website, career.uncc.edu.